All right, welcome to the show, everybody. We got a show for you. I'm Donald W. Moore. I started Get Off My Lawn Records a while back now. It occurred to me we cut our first release for Get Off My Lawn. We cut that a year ago.
Yep.
It's been over a year.
A little over a year. It was like end of December, wasn't it?
It was like December 9. It was second Saturday of December of 2015.
And they still haven't gotten off your lawn.
No, they got off our lawn, all right. They got off. The place went under. Kind of sucks. In fact, an interesting story with that. So we recorded this, the Jazz Destroyers live. You can see it right there. This is on iTunes, which is very cool. Apparently, the Jazz Destroyers is kind of a tough name. So you got to actually type out the Jazz Destroyers, and I think the is very important when you're searching for what we do. So anyway, we cut this there at a place called the Brass House, and at the time we recorded it, Brass House was still open. Brass House has since closed, so now I'm finally comfortable talking about this. But Brass House was not paying ASCAP, and they weren't paying BMI, and they weren't paying CSAC, and it bothered me deeply. And I made an attempt to try to get the owner to pay their dues, right? Which were, I think each one of them wanted $2,000 for the year. So CSAC wanted $2,000, and BMI wanted $2,000, and ASCAP wanted $2,000. So that came out to $6,000 from the business each year.
For a year.
For a year, for $500 a month.
Now, please keep in mind that this was a place that easily charged $20 a plate for dinner.
Right, but let's. There's a lot of reasons why things went down the way they did, but it was $500 a month that this business was not paying the songwriters. Right, this is a jazz club. They established themselves as a jazz club, and they didn't want to. And jazz is the entire history of live jazz. It prospers on cover music. Right? So the reason you go to the jazz club is because they're going to play Autumn Leaves, and they're going to play All the Things You Are, and maybe Blue Bossa, and there's a whole book behind you of just songs that even if you don't know the name of them, you will recognize them.
That would be me, because I would hear them all and be like, oh, I've heard that 1,000 times.
Right. So these guys they weren't paying the dues, right? $500 a month, but they had music 7 nights a week. So what is 500 a month divided by 7? But by let's call it 30 days in a month. So how much is it a day?
So 500 a month.
Yeah.
By 30 days. $16.67.
$16.67 a night to pay for the people who wrote the songs that are being performed in your club.
So basically one of the cheapest dinners on the menu. One plate. One dinner.
One
Would have
plate.
paid for it. Every night.
The Brass House went under not because of ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC. And it's not because that the rents, it's really, they got pushed out from gentrification. If you look in downtown Austin, look in that area down there.
That area was already gentrified.
Well, when I say gentrified, I mean, this is a whole new level of it. It's either corporate or it's not. Like, they didn't have no money when they started Brass House. Brass House had significant startup capital put together to invest in the space. They put together a tremendous amount of capital. And the rent was very high, but that's why they charge a lot for the plates, right? That's why the drinks were expensive. They were kind of on that line of like, the problem is when your drinks are that expensive and your food is that expensive, you have to make sure everything is just like on point at all times. And that's why it's a jazz club, is because you know those musicians up there are going to be on point. Like, and so it was a really great space. We played there for, I think, 2 years, year and a half. I think it was. I think we recorded the album there as the 1 year anniversary of having done it every month for a year, and then they lasted another 8 months, and I hope Jason's well. He posts on Facebook, but like clearly his lifestyle has changed. But I'm not gonna criticize them, right? They made a really honest attempt at it.
And they did last for a few years, which is
They did last a few
better than
years.
most.
Yeah.
So
And we have a document of it. But because they weren't paying ASCAP, CSAC, and BMI, I was not comfortable using, I was like, oh, and I can't put your name on the thing. Like, I really shouldn't have, if the economic reality was that I didn't need to play that club for financial reasons, I shouldn't have played that club because they weren't doing the thing. And I was playing my original music, which meant I wasn't getting paid the fraction of that night. That's $16 at the end of the year. You submit your set list to them, and they go, oh, okay, so you wrote these, and that night it was $16, and so we played half standards and half of your originals. Here's $8 from that night. And honestly, when you're making $75 a guy, and maybe you're coming home with like $100 at the end of the night, and you had to pay for your parking, and it's really just tough to make it a living, right? Like, I get it. What Brass House should have done was they should have made sure they were $50 a plate, and was the best plate in town. It was a very that's my opinion. And so I'm really I've been working on a lot of things about it, but that's the thing I think they could have done differently, that maybe it would have survived. And maybe at $50 a plate, then they could have paid the musicians $150 a night. Right? Like, the way we contracted, and I thought it was a fair contract, but it was $75 per guy you have up there.
up to 5 was
Up to 5. So he was really great about that, because he's like, listen, do a trio, do a quartet, do a quintet, but don't do a duo because you make more money. He was just keeping us from being incentivized to bring fewer guys. He wanted 5 guys up there. He likes that kind of music. We just did that new Freeform Fridays, which I don't know where the hell the card's going to be, but I'll put a card. Downstairs we had 8 people? 6, 7?
Big set. Big
It
lineup.
was a big lineup, right? 2 horns, 2 drummers. I first tried 2 drummers at Brass House, and nobody was there. It's this tragedy. It was like this grand experiment, and it was wonderful. And I have footage of it, and it is the most depressing shit you'll ever see. So here's what we're gonna do.
At least you didn't literally play for the Crickets that time?
Oh, I did play for Crickets once. One time I was playing on 6th Street to literally an empty room, and it was infested with crickets. So literally at
They were
the
like
end
on
of
the
it,
ceiling.
one of them fell off the ceiling onto me while I was playing. Ugh.
Man,
And that's the difference between playing
That's an
Freeform
amazing
Fridays.
story.
Yeah, that's the difference between playing Freeform Fridays live and playing standards and pop tunes. At least with the standards and pop tunes, I get $75 a guy.
Yeah.
But damn, it's a lot of work to go find those gigs that even pay $75. So if you guys know of anybody, let me know. I have guitar, we'll travel. I would totally travel. Like, if a place would fly my guys out, put us up overnight, and pay us $100, I could totally make that happen. It'd be nicer if it paid $150. Probably would make sense to be $200 if I think about it, right? Because you're gonna lose a day just traveling. But yeah, if somebody wants to do a private event, we'll go out and play for $200 a guy, I'm pretty sure we could.
And travel expenses.
And travel expenses, we could probably make that happen. But once you factor in travel expenses, I mean, how many clubs pay that? They don't. We live in a weird time.
No, but private events.
I would love to play private events. If anybody knows of any private events, send them my way. It creates the oligarchy thing because, like, I don't have extremely wealthy friends. So I'm not in that social circle to get those gigs.
And the fundamental problem is that employers in this country are incentivized to pay people as little as possible, no matter what industry it is, no matter what structure it is. Like, capitalism rewards screwing over the little guy. There's just no way around it. In our current capitalist setup, we're sort of doomed to it.
Yeah.
Except for the few individual people who recognize that you actually get greater long-term value out of making the little guy feel rewarded and feel essential and necessary. And there's enough data out there that proves this approach is better for everyone. Does it mean that maybe the CEO gets slightly less opportunities to take insanely unfair bonuses? Yeah, but they still have, 3 jacuzzis in their Learjet.
All right, comrade, we're not going to keep it. We're trying not to get political here. And who the bleep are you?
Well, that wasn't political. That was, economic theory right there.
Right.
I am Stephen Edward Walker, and I'm starting to feel very at home in your little studio here.
It's a nice place, right?
Yes.
It's messy, but
Most recently, I've been the videographer for Don's Freeform Friday experiments.
that's right.
I was just watching a cut of one earlier today, and it was awesome.
Here's an Easter egg for everybody. If you go watch the Freeform Fridays from 2016, I think there's at least one where I misspell your name in the credits. Sorry about that.
Great.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. It happens.
it's-
Hardly the first time.
Hey, listen, I've been listening. I was like, is it a PH or is it a V? Is it a PH or a V? And I should have just went onto Facebook and looked. I didn't. So now I've been on everybody's Facebook. All right, how exactly are you spelling it on your Facebook here? Boom. And then I'm like, wait, are we using a stage name for you? Ah, okay, I'll re-upload. So
No, it's definitely the V. I own the V. It is Steven. It's not Stefan. All you PHers out there can own your own sound and stop cribbing off of mine.
can't trust them PHs, man.
No. It's just fundamentally dishonest.
And who the bleep are you sitting here so quietly observing?
I am your wife. And yeah, that's about all I got this week.
I've drug you along for this ride.
You have. I have no idea how I let myself get talked into this.
Well, I think
I think there's a lot of therapy in my future.
Oh. It's not so bad. We got a fun show this week.
I think in many ways this counts as therapy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Couples therapy, maybe.
It definitely is. I got some shout outs and that'll be funny. We'll have to remember this moment for the shout outs. But yeah, no, I've drug you along for this, right?
Yeah.
How long have we been married?
Oh, 8.5 years.
8.5 years.
Not bad.
I was a young man when I got married. How old was I when I got married?
I don't know. Young.
24?
You've made it longer than the longest possible presidential administration.
We've been together.
Oh, that's true.
That's
We've been together 12 years.
12 years.
Yeah.
It's not quite officially yet, but yeah, 12 years.
Though I take that back. I just
We met
realized
12
that
years.
Next month.
Next month.
Next month.
though before any serious wonks try to correct me, I just realized it is theoretically possible by a rigid interpretation of the rules for a president to serve for 10 years.
Yes.
But
Right.
it's still as far as we've made it so far.
Well, how long was Roosevelt in? Was it 13 years?
Right, yeah. I mean,
Something like
he
that.
was in there for a while, but with the current laws, before the term limit was made official, within the current laws, 10 is the maximum you can get.
I called my father at one point. I think it was. It might have been this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to him on our anniversary, right? I said, hey, I've been married for 7 years or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, yeah, the first 10 are just practice. So we'll see how this goes.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that.
Your parents are still together, aren't they?
Not well. My father is dead, so I interpret that how you will. My mother hasn't remarried, so
Yes.
not sure how she feels about it.
That's exactly how I interpret that, actually. Yeah. You saw them over the holidays? Are they
Yeah,
all right?
I went home to see Mom back in Arkansas. She was very happy to see me. I was happy to see her more than I was Arkansas.
Good. Do they know about the show?
Yeah, you know, she's into it. It's not really her thing. But
I don't blame her.
You know, I throw the
It's
links.
not really
her
my
way.
thing either.
Right. You just make it and pump it out there, right?
Well, that's about it. I mean, I love doing the show. It's just there are weeks where it's a chore. So, like we talked about, we're gonna do some supplemental content because I'm gonna need to take a little break for a little while at some point. Right?
Probably June.
Probably June.
My parents' 40th wedding anniversary.
When?
2 days after ours.
Oh. God damn it! We're gonna have to go to. Okay. Well, I'm looking so forward to seeing Sacramento in June. What a wonderful city Sacramento is. It's really a great town, full of really terrifying things if you go to the wrong side of it. But
Hey, you've got a camera now. That means any place is full of adventure, and the places you really shouldn't go usually have great photo opportunities.
yeah,
Sacramento has some great public art. In the weirdest little spots.
yeah, but we're gonna have to figure out how we can do a line in to the field recorder so we can actually talk to each other from there. I don't know how much I really want to take this show on the road, you know? This is pretty complex. These Freeform Fridays, it's a serious ordeal. I forget this. Because I just kind of bring a bunch of people into a room and then we make magic, right? That's kind of the way I look at things. I'm like, oh, somebody will run lights, you know. Who are we going to have? I don't know. Like, I never know. I invite a bunch of people, half of them flake. But some magic really goes on, right? And so we do this, and this session was just nuts because it's gonna be. Well, you guys will see.
Yeah.
So that's who the bleep we are. Welcome to the show, and we got our section 2.
This is a lap.
Yeah, this is a lap. Ready? What? Don't hit it until I'm ready. Don't hit it until I'm ready.
Okay.
Section 2. Boom.
I don't think it did. There we go. Okay.
I think I'm no longer talking to the thing. There you go.
Okay.
So this is our section 2. We've changed it from do you give a bleep to a science-based.
Or at least so far. Science-based.
Yeah, Gesundheit. It's cedar season.
Oh, yes.
So this is our science-based. Carissa explains it all. It turned into too much death when we were doing Do You Give a Bleep. It's kind of a downer. Now we're doing dark energy.
Dark energy. That is our topic for this week after last week's dark matter topic. And you expressed an interest in dark energy, and I told you that was going to be its own
So now here we are.
explanation.
So Carissa's going to explain dark energy.
Alright, so dark energy.
But before you do, let me throw in my nugget summary so we can find out if I'm right or spectacularly misinformed.
Okay.
Alright.
This is going to be fun.
My impression currently is that dark energy is sort of the blanket name for whatever force is pushing the universe slowly apart. That it's the vacuum energy of the void between stars, for lack of a better term. And we really don't know what it is beyond
I
that.
guess I don't need to do anything.
But that's like the fortune cookie version, and I'm sure you have
Yeah.
a much better.
Yeah, I've found pictures.
There's pictures.
You wanted pictures.
I did. I said I need more pictures, less text.
Now, I will tell you straight up that good luck trying to find black and white pictures in science.
Okay.
Because you can't actually see anything if it's black and white.
Well, let's.
Because it's just so much information in a picture.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Just no black and white lines. Go ahead. Do the thing. We'll do the thing. I'll critique afterwards.
Okay, so the background. Beginning of the 90s, there were two ideas of universal expansion. One was that the universe might have enough energy density to just stop expanding and recollapse in on itself. And the second was that the universe might have so little energy density that it would never stop expanding, but eventually gravity would act on it and it'd slow the expansion. Don't try to read it.
Two fairly optimistic ideas, in my opinion.
Yeah, the second one, doesn't it seem like, okay, so yeah, if it has an effect, wouldn't it eventually always stop and then reverse?
Yes.
Okay.
So those were the theories, and nobody knew for sure which one.
Okay.
Not a clue. So, cut to 1998, the Hubble Space Telescope is studying distant supernovae, and it observed that the universe used to expand more slowly than today.
See, we could do pictures of the Hubble, because you can do NASA. All the NASA pictures, I believe, are public domain. We're totally okay to use pictures of the Hubble telescope.
Okay, well, I did not find a picture of the Hubble telescope, because it's a frickin' telescope.
Yeah, but you're talking to a photographer.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be fairly easy to cut together a slideshow that would
Yeah.
go with this.
Yeah, no, pictures. All right, keep going. So
This is science-based. You are not for. This is not a picture book.
this is totally going to be a picture book.
This
This
is
is
not
great.
a picture book.
This-
Okay.
It's going to be a picture book because
Okay.
you can read the thing. But yeah, okay. So it observed that the universe used to expand more slowly than today?
Uh-huh, and the explanation they've come up for this is called dark energy.
Do you happen to know if they named
Wait, so
dark
it's actually
matter?
accelerating? We're being pulled apart in an accelerating manner?
See, there's a picture.
Excellent. That is an awesome visual.
See, now what this picture is over here on the right, or left, sorry. You've got the Big Bang, and as the universe has gotten older, it's expanded. Now, what it is the space between the matter is expanding. The matter itself is not expanding.
Right.
Okay?
Yes, I understand that.
Okay. So, picture.
But it's actually going faster now than it would have been after the Big Bang.
Yes.
Oh, that's weird. Oh, that's creepy. Okay.
Okay. So now, basically, the theory is there's 4 types of universes. There's the recollapsing, in which the mass density is greater than the critical density, so it collapses in on itself eventually.
Right.
There's the critical, where there's just the right amount of mass per unit volume, so basically it will stop expanding at some point and just be static. And then there's coasting, in which the mass density is less than the critical density, so it will keep expanding but at a slower rate. And then there's the accelerating, which is what the observations suggest.
Now, are these types of universes like mathematical models that
Yes.
we've developed?
Yeah.
But we've observed that we're actually doing the accelerating one.
Yes. And see, here is a picture of the 4 types. So you've got the recollapsing, the critical, the coasting, and the accelerating. And that one on the far right is
That is
what
also an excellent visual.
we are currently experiencing with the data.
Do you happen to know if they named dark matter or dark energy first?
That I don't know.
Because I'm pretty sure whichever came second was just bandwagoning it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was dark energy because, dark matter they had come up with in like 1980.
Leave a comment. Let's settle this in the comments. And if you
This
haven't
was,
already
late
subscribed,
90s, so.
if you haven't already subscribed, subscribe now. But leave a comment. Let us know. We're not going to bicker about the history of things. Let's keep going.
Okay, so what did it just do?
What did it do?
I don't know what it did.
Hit play.
Okay. Wasn't aware that it shuts down on me like that. All right, so that's the visual. And then here's the evidence of the acceleration of the galaxies. Now, the observations point to an accelerating universe. Per Newton's second law, force equals mass times acceleration. So if the galaxies are accelerating away from each other, then some unseen force must be acting on them. Because
Right.
as we established, galaxies
Right.
are mass.
Yes.
Cue background theremin cue at this point.
You know what? Pass
No.
me the thing.
No, you're not pulling out the theremin now.
All right, next week.
Wait, you have a
I
theremin?
have a
He does.
theremin. It's right there. Get it. Just grab it. Come on, grab it.
No.
Up there.
You
it's
are
right
not
there
plugging
on the
it in
shelf.
now.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Next week we will have the theremin.
Okay, yes, we're
We will
So-
make the theremin noises next week
So,
during this.
again, picture. We have a graph of what we should be seeing for each of those galaxies, and as you can see from the little supernova data, they're all along the line for the accelerating one.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's weird. It's creepy. It's creepy.
It's creepy. The universe is a creepy, creepy place.
It's a weird
There's a-
place.
very nihilistic big rip in our future.
Right? All right.
All right. So next one. Come on. Why are you...
This is greatly improved from last week, by the way.
Yes. So here's another picture of an accelerated expanding universe. So it's pretty similar to the other one, but
Right.
little more data.
This is just telling us the same thing, but in a different way.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And in science, it is always best to try to constantly re-visualize things, because most of these concepts are so big that no one graph can really capture them.
Exactly.
I feel like I had to read 20 different explanations of like relativity before it sunk in.
Can you do that one next week?
You want relativity next week?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's do relativity next
Okay,
week.
I can do relativity next week. I do touch on relativity here a little bit. Okay, so we can calculate the amount of dark energy because we know how it affects the expansion of the universe. Measurements of the cosmic microwave background indicate that the universe is close to flat, and by flat we don't mean like piece of paper flat. We mean flat as in Euclidean geometry flat. So parallel lines will never intersect. The angles of a triangle will always add up to 180 degrees. The corners of a cube will always be 90 degrees. That
Okay.
sort of thing. So that's what we mean by flat. And so then the mass energy density ends up equaling the critical density, and then the total amount of matter in the universe accounts for a little over 30% of that critical density. So, another picture.
I'm lost. I'm gonna let you finish.
Why are you lost?
I missed the whole thing. That's okay. Keep going.
It was basically just an explanation of this.
Okay.
So this is what they've
So
calculated.
the universe is basically mostly dark energy and dark matter, and just wait. How are dark energy and okay. I'm lost. So we're gonna clean this up next.
Okay.
Relativity will help.
Okay.
Well, it's like dark matter is stuff, and dark energy is not stuff.
Right. So then,
If that makes any sense.
but where's ordinary energy in this graph?
Ordinary energy is, well, what you mean when you say energy is still actually matter, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Because even like when we think of energy, we think of like electricity. Electricity still counts as matter. Dark energy
Really?
means the
Yeah.
void in between.
E equals mc squared.
Yeah.
Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared.
Yeah, but that means that
That's
they're
energy.
different things. But you're telling me they're the same thing.
They're related.
Okay.
Mass can be energy, and energy can be mass.
Okay.
Okay.
Keep going.
So Einstein's theory of general relativity predicts that this energy will have a gravitational effect. So pressure within a substance contributes to its gravitational attraction for other objects. Now dark energy would need to have a negative pressure equal to its energy density to cause the expansion of the universe. Okay?
Right.
Okay.
Right. I follow.
Okay. So the possibilities. 1, dark energy is a property of space. It's just there.
Just how it
It's
works.
just how it works.
I reserve
You
the
know,
right to add a
it's-
fourth. to this list.
One of Einstein's gravity theories involved a cosmological constant, which would actually kind of explain this a little bit, but it didn't really work with the knowledge they had back then, so he scrapped it.
Okay.
So now they're kind of revisiting that to see if that
Really?
that makes more sense.
That's a brand new data point for me. That's fascinating. The idea that they may have found their way back to the cosmological constant.
So yeah, they're exploring that. They've tried thinking that it's like a quantum property, but when they did the calculations, they were off by an order of 120.
Wow.
So, yeah, to be that far off from it probably means it's wrong. Or two, it could be a new dynamic fluid or field that we just don't know about, that we had no clue about.
Regal Cat.
Or that we simply don't have the instrumentation necessary to detect.
Exactly. So, there's that. Or it could be a completely new theory of gravity altogether.
Which is always possible.
It's just always possible, but it would,
Yeah.
at the same time, it would kind of turn everything we know almost on its head. So,
But there is that sort of, Damoclesian sword hanging over physics, where
Yeah.
everyone knows relativity and quantum mechanics don't
agree.
really agree. So clearly we're missing something.
Yes.
At some point, we're either going to add to those theories or
Mm-hmm.
have to scrap them and replace them with something more comprehensive.
Right, right. So yeah, just more and better data is needed in order to narrow down what it is.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I really think it's metachlorians. All right.
All right, I would agree. That was awesome. It's really so.
All right, give me a lap.
I might be slightly jumping ahead to the shout out, but I feel like it's appropriate. I've been reading the His Dark Materials trilogy by Philip Pullman, and it is a fictional story in which dark matter and dark energy are very prominent plot points. Because it's a story about parallel universes and someone discovering a brand new instrument that can detect dark energy and realizing that they can manipulate it to open holes between parallel universes.
Nice.
And it's just awesome.
Nice.
Anyway, carry on.
Okay.
Apparently, Farewell My Love is following me on Twitter. Sorry.
Okay.
All right, so section 3, right?
Section 3.
You did a good job with that one.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was excellent. Brain expanding stuff.
Right. Section 3, though,
Section 3.
let's take a break. Ready? We're gonna list 10 albums that changed our lives as teenagers.
Okay.
This one's been going around Facebook a lot. I've had to do 2 of them now. I feel compelled to do this. So, what we're gonna do 1, 2. We're gonna do 1, then 2, and then 3. We'll go around the room for each one. Ready?
Okay.
Fair warning, I've got 3 or 4, like, immediately. 10 may be a struggle to get to, but let's see how far we can go.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Fair enough.
So really, the first one for me would be listener supported, Dave Matthews Band, which I own it.
Okay.
I love that album. It's a good album. It was a live album, and Dave Matthews Band was excellent. And you guys can leave comments if you disagree. That's fine. But I think it's really quite good. I know Dave. But I will say this, of the entire history of the catalog that Dave Matthews has been recording, that is the finest moment, is that live show in New Jersey, recorded on 9/11/1999, or 2000. Correct me on the count. I just remember it was recorded on September 11, a year or 2 before 9/11 happened. Anyway, that's number 1. What's your first?
You know, I really wanted Pet Sounds to be my first.
There you go. Pet
But
Sounds.
no, it's not.
What is it?
Because Pet Sounds, I was introduced to at age 9.
Ah,
So that was like the album that influenced my childhood.
Gotcha.
You know, not my teens. So the first one I'm going with for my teens is going to be Weezer's Blue Album.
Blue Album. Blue Album's a good album. It's my favorite of the Weezer albums. That's right.
You haven't listened to most of the Weezer albums. I don't want to hear it.
It's all kind of samey.
That face, I know that.
I know that face. Listen,
Because I've given that face to so many people when they throw that accusation at music.
no,
I like.
it's fine.
And-
I buy you the albums,
Yes.
right? I buy the albums. I just don't. Rivers Cuomo isn't my cup of tea. He does good stuff. I really loved his home recordings.
No.
That home recordings of he did the home studio stuff. His demos. They did a couple compilations of those. Those are awesome and fun. But yeah, the big produced Weezer records, I'm like, I like the Blue album. That's the one I like. I've listened to the Green album and Pinkerton and the Red album. How many others are there? The Maladroit?
Maladroit, Ratitude,
No. I hate
the
it.
White Album.
Yeah.
You haven't listened to the White Album yet, I know that.
Well, I got it for you for Christmas.
Yes.
So, like, I'm familiar with their work. Not my cup of tea. But yes, it was. I remember learning songs off of that one, and then Girls Never Cared. And then she came along, and she didn't. She cared. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so
It's you first.
So mine is Metallica, Ride the Lightning.
Oh, Ride the Lightning is probably Metallica's.
Now,
Yeah.
I personally I don't care much for it out of their discography now, because my tastes have changed quite a bit, but
That was still with Cliff Burton?
I was raised on my parents' music, because I had a very sheltered childhood. So
Right.
ages like 1 through 10 was Elvis and Neil Diamond, Conway Twitty, and the New Christie Minstrels, all of which are fine musicians.
Yes?
However, bought a present for a friend of mine. I knew he was a Metallica fan, even though I couldn't pronounce it and didn't know what it was. And I went to the store and I bought this tape, and it had that cover art for Ride the Lightning, which is quite excellent. And I was like, that looks pretty cool. Bought him that. And it was like weeks until I was supposed to give it to him, because it was like, Christmas, and this was early, and it was one of those, sits on a shelf in the closet for months, and I'm like, it's not doing anybody good in there. So I decided I'd give it a listen. And my life changed forever.
That's awesome. Yeah, Ride the Lightning's is a good one. I really got introduced to Metallica on And Justice for All.
Which is excellent.
Yeah.
I'm the rare fan that actually really likes their later stuff. I was one of the few fans that loved Load. I thought there was quality stuff there. I liked Unforgiven 3, and everybody else was like nuts. But I enjoyed it,
Hey, everybody, that's why that's what's
I'm
great
actually
about
a
this.
huge fan of Saint Anger. I think that's their most underrated album. So
That was the one where they had the no. Saint Anger was the one where the mastering was all fucked. Yeah. Oh.
It was
Sorry.
the first one with their new drummer.
Screwed up. Yeah.
Hey, it wasn't me this time.
Yeah, well, it wasn't you this time. Don't repeat after me, kids. Yeah. I don't know. I like Metallica a lot, but I'm not the super fan. I don't have the energy for it. That is some in your face, and it's hard to not move while listening to them.
That is true.
Which is really the goal of any musician, right?
Right.
But yeah, that's no, I love And Justice for All. But that was like their big orchestral one. Well, then they did the live orchestra thing.
So what's your number 2?
My number two is gonna probably be Jagged Little Pill.
Really?
Yeah. I love the crap out of that album.
See, everybody I knew that had that album, or that actually liked that album, kept telling me that it was really good if you were high, but that was about it.
Oh, that's not true. It's nuanced. The musicianship on it is excellent.
Okay.
I don't know. Yours?
Mine is actually going to be Rancid. Out Come the Wolves.
Yeah, it's a good one. Rancid's awesome. You?
I'm going to go with Danny Elfman's original Batman soundtrack.
Ah, Batman's pretty good.
Because I still think between that and Beetlejuice, I think those are his two best scores. But I think the music to his original Batman, his theme music and a couple of tracks, he's the only guy who has that John Williams touch of just that theme is so instantly resonant. Like it makes the hairs stand up on the back of my neck. Like Batman was a hugely influential movie for me, and that soundtrack was my gateway into, classical music. I hadn't really listened to classical music before, or just pure instrumental or orchestral stuff. And that paired with Ride the Lightning, because my two musical obsessions are orchestral and heavy metal. And those are two fairly distinct branches that I discovered both age 10, and Ride the Lightning went one way and the Batman soundtrack went the other.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm doing 3.
3.
3 would probably be Bitches Brew, Miles Davis. That one changed it all for me. It's a polarizing record. I don't know that there's a more polarizing record than it in the jazz world, but it's excellent. And I've been trying to sound. I would love. Especially my early stuff, the nuclear powered Winnebago stuff. I was really trying to sound like that. And now I've kind of found my own voice, but yeah, it's excellent. You?
I think number 3 for me would probably be Real Big Fish.
Which one?
Turn the radio off.
Hell yeah! That one's on my list too. That on my Facebook.
Oh?
That was on my list.
I know there is one song by Real Big Fish that I really love, and I can't think of what it's called.
Probably Beer. Yeah.
Sell out.
Yeah. Those are the big hits. Yeah, Real Big Fish is excellent.
Oh.
How about you? 3?
I'm going to go with Pink Floyd, The Wall.
Good.
For
Yep.
I think for a different reason for most people.
No, because that's my 4. So you do well. Not really. My 4 is a different Pink Floyd album. So tell me why it's The Wall.
And well, the reason why is because of my favorite track. My favorite track on The Wall is The Trial. And the reason why is because The Wall was my first encounter with a concept album.
Ah.
In my brain, up until The Wall, an album was a random collection of songs with no direct connectivity and no narrative arc. And The Wall was the thing that introduced me to the idea of rock, of an album as opera. Like, here is an album that has individual songs that do work as radio cuts, but you're supposed to sit down and listen to this all the way through in order, and you get told a very specific story with a beginning, middle, and end.
The lack of classical music background, I could see how that, yeah.
Yeah, and so The Trial is a track that absolutely does not work on its own. It's the climactic track that resolves the storyline, and if you haven't listened to the whole album, up to that point, the track is nonsense. You have no idea what's going on. And that was just very powerful to me.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. The Wall, it's like The Wall and Dark Side are the two, right? That seems to be the two major camps.
Mm-hmm.
I like The Wall a lot. I really love Dark Side. But my favorite Floyd album, my favorite is Uma Guma. But my number 4 is actually Echoes, the best of Pink Floyd. Because that's the album that I got my hands on in my teens.
Yeah, I definitely had Echoes got a lot of play.
Right? And that was the only access to Pink Floyd that I had was this double. The kids today, we call it Get Off My Lawn for a reason, right? A kid today who listens to music on YouTube has no idea what it's like to be cut off from all music at all times. I can call up anything I want on the internet, which is great. But that is not the era we grew up in. You had to go to the store, you had to buy an album, or you could listen to radio or watch MTV. Those were or maybe there were lots of blank tapes, so you would tape things and pass them around. But those were your options, right? Now today, it's wonderful. You have the history of recorded sound at your fingertips. Now, if only I paid better. But we just need people to buy the records. Mine, though, yeah, Pink Floyd, the Echoes. And I then proceeded to go buy every single Pink Floyd album that I could. I would go to FYE religiously every week. When I get paid, I'd go buy another one until I had the entire catalog.
Mm.
And I've since stopped. I don't have the ones that have come out since. But, yeah. I went down a deep, dark Pink Floyd rabbit hole. What's yours? What's yours, number 4?
It's probably gonna be the Who, Tommy.
Tommy's excellent.
You know that. I got my hands on that when I was 13. My dad had a copy, and yeah, I spent like an entire summer just listening to that.
Somebody,
over and over.
yeah, somebody in my family, either me or in high school, I remember there being a VHS copy of Tommy in the house.
Okay, this isn't the soundtrack. This was the score. This was the one recorded by the Who. So
Right. That makes sense. Tommy's excellent.
yes.
That's a good concept album. That's one of the early concept albums. How about you? What's your 4?
So I'm not sure what album to attribute this to, but it was around this time that I discovered Led Zeppelin.
Okay.
And the song that made me discover Led Zeppelin was Kashmir.
Kashmir's
I
excellent.
had never heard anything like that before, because it just had that particular sound.
Were you
that
listening
I
on-
think is still somewhat unique. I was listening to, at the time, they had just done their first round of digital remasters of all their stuff, and there was a lot of publicity surrounding that. And a friend of mine was a huge Zeppelin fan, and he was like, "Man, if you're discovering heavy metal, you need to look at one of the originators of heavy metal. They're not heavy metal; they came before that, but you can clearly see the evolution from
Cashmere's
from
pretty
Zeppelin
heavy,
to everything."
Yeah.
And that sent me down a Zeppelin rabbit hole where I sort of immediately absorbed their entire discography, and still think of them as one of my favorite bands.
Where mine's Houses of the Holy.
That's tremendous. Like Houses of the Holy is like Battle of Evermore.
Yeah.
There's some, or No Quarter.
Yep, that was the one.
Utterly Righteous.
That was the
songs
one.
on there.
No Quarter. It was, it really changed. That's really how in high school I listened, so my number 5 is actually, You've Come a Long Way, Baby. Fatboy Slim. And that one really was my first introduction to electronic music. It was either that or Daft Punk Homework, but I put those two together because that was my I had acquired both of those around the same time and was listening to them basically back to back nonstop.
Okay.
I fell in love with electronic music at that point. So that's my 5. I guess that's my 5 and 6. What's your 5 and 6?
My 5 and 6. Well, you keep talking about all these acts that I was exposed to as a kid. So
Yeah.
it's hard to throw the Beatles or the Rolling Stones or
Right,
Led
you
Zeppelin
just grew up with it.
or any of these on my teen list because I'd been listening to them from such a young age that it's like it already had seeped into my psyche at that
Right.
point. So, I feel kind of bad because like my list is like a lot of 90s stuff.
But that's fine.
So
90s stuff is excellent.
90s stuff is excellent, and
And by the way, when I look at these lists, right? Because this is the fun is Facebook's posting these, or they're kind of going viral on Facebook. People see somebody do it, and they're like, "Oh, I'll make my own list."
yeah,
And so they're kind of getting passed around. I'm seeing them come by, and yeah, it's quite an experience. Yeah, the 90s, a lot of 90s. I see mostly 90s.
see, I haven't,
But that's
I
'cause,
do
you know-
have older friends.
Yeah,
so.
you have older friends. You can really, it tells a lot about people. So, go ahead.
Okay, so 5 and 6 would be Everclear So Much for the Afterglow
Okay.
and Fountains of Wayne. They're self-titled.
I don't like either, but that's fine. It's fine. That fact is why I don't, somehow we still are married, because you listen to those in the car when I'm not in it. I love you.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Okay. Steven, 5 and 6.
So, Downward Spiral.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that was another one of those, wow, music can sound like this moments.
Yeah.
Like, had no contact with the industrial or anything like that prior to that. And I still think, even though I love The Fragile to pieces, I still think Downward Spiral is the best thing Trent Reznor has touched. Like, there's just, that felt like a statement about what music could be that had never quite been before, and I don't think anything else he's done since really achieves that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably have to agree with you there.
Though I do love the Social Network soundtrack on another level, but that's a whole different story.
So that's 5. What's 6?
Lateralis by Tool.
Yeah.
Tool was the first band I had heard since Zeppelin that I felt like had the same epic reach with what their songs were about. Like, if you listen to Zeppelin's discography, they will take you everywhere. Like, Zeppelin wrote songs about so many different topics to a variety that I think puts most artists to shame. And Tool has a similar thing. Like, all of their songs were really about something. Like, Maynard was the type of guy who has a purpose. And I love most of their work, but I think Lateralis is special. I know people think, there are people who swear by the earlier stuff and write off Lateralis, but since it was my first Tool,
Right.
I hadn't had, I couldn't compare it to any of his previous stuff. So whenever I went back to listen to early Tool, even though I liked it, I never liked it as much as that Lateralis. There was a purity to that for me.
That makes sense. My 7 is going to have to be Pat Metheny, New Chautauqua. And that Bitches Brew and Shakti with John McLaughlin. So that's my 7 and 8.
7 and 8, okay.
Those are really the albums that really set me off onto jazz. Right.
Okay.
I was a kid. I wanted to be a singer-songwriter as a teenager. And Dave Matthews, right? Like, that's why it's number 1. I wanted to be a singer-songwriter. And I listened to Dave Matthews, and I started listening to more and more jazz. And I'm fortunate in that I come from an area where jazz is very much ingrained in the culture. New York, right? So you're just around jazz. Where for a lot of people, like, I posted my list on Facebook, and my buddy who grew up in Dallas, he's like, "Really, dude? Really? You were listening to all that classic jazz as a teenager?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It didn't even occur to me that it was like, yeah, you would just have jazz musicians in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So it's just a different kind of deal. So those are my 7 and 8. What are your
Okay.
7 and 8?
So, you weren't the only one that had vague aspirations of being a singer-songwriter as a teen. I think that's actually more common than you might think.
Oh yeah, no,
So-
there was a whole bunch of
Oh,
us.
yeah.
Oh
So-
God, and we would all go to the open mics and then try to bump naughty bits with each other. Oh, it was so much fun. It was so much fun.
So,
And I had such terrible luck. Anyway,
So, in that vein, my 7 and 8. 7 would be That Dog's Totally Crushed Out.
I don't even know that one.
That Dog was really the first band that I listened to that was mostly female.
Gotcha.
And on top of that, the singer had roughly my vocal range, whereas, you're listening to, Anna Nancy Wilson, or you're listening to Stevie Nicks, or you're listening to, all these female jazz singers that have these incredible ranges, and I'm like, I can't do that. But I could do what she was doing, and I liked that.
You can do it. Everybody can do it. You know you can do it, right?
I've tried. I do not have that range.
You do have that range. You just
And
have
we're
to...
talking in the era of, like, Mariah Carey, and, I definitely did not have that range.
Fair enough. All right.
And then, so that was, 7?
7, 8.
And then 8 would be Eve 6.
Okay.
For a similar reason, Granted, they weren't female, but they were like a year older than I was.
Gotcha.
And it was like, wait, I could be doing this now. So that was an eye-opener for me.
And that one song of theirs, like the Beautiful Oblivion, I know that's not the actual
Yes.
name of the song. That just comes instantly to my head. I don't recall liking much else by them, but I loved that song.
Yeah, this was the album that was on.
All right, you're 7 and 8.
So 7 is really weird. It is the Cherry Poppin' Daddies.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
no, yeah,
Oh.
Zuzu
absolutely,
Riot.
yes.
Love
Yep.
that so much. And I know there's other music like that. For some reason, I don't feel like many other bands can capture whatever they captured on that particular album. They certainly weren't able to do it on any other records. But there's just, I love horns so much, and I feel like nice big horn section is so underutilized in modern music. And
Do you know why? It's very expensive. We got Casey coming on soon, right? She'll be on the podcast, but she's going to be on next week's Freeform Fridays. And yeah, when I first met her, she's like, "Yeah, I really like that big band sound." I'm like, "Yeah, everybody likes that big band sound. It is literally the most expensive way to make a record, other than hiring a full orchestra."
right.
So, but yeah, I'm with you. There's something really special about it. I wish that it was the sort of thing where everybody could do it, but the MIDI doesn't do. But like MIDI-fied versions of it don't do it justice. And that's why, like, I always say, make the music that you're gonna make. Make the music that you can make with what you have. So if all you have are cheesy MIDI horns, like, don't try to make high art with it unless you're really making, like,
Or just make something that's going to sound that's going to sound good with cheesy MIDI horns.
right,
Right. Don't try to make cheesy MIDI horns sound like something they're not.
right, like, own the fact that they're cheesy MIDI
You
horns.
got a kazoo, write a song for a kazoo.
Right, or bring in a buddy, play, or pick up a horn and learn how to play. Like, I don't know. Right. So,
What was your 8?
that's your 8.
So 8 is the soundtrack to Immortal Beloved, which was the biopic about Beethoven with Gary Oldman as Beethoven.
Oh, yeah.
And this is special because it taught me how much performance matters.
Yeah.
Because I had an album of Beethoven's greatest hits, and it had Ode to Joy, and it had Symphony No. 5, and I had listened to them a lot, and I liked them. And I got this soundtrack, which has the same 2 cuts on it, and it's the same music, but the orchestra performing it on the Immortal Beloved soundtrack
Is crushing.
takes it from, I mean, it's you can't even put it into words. You listen to their Symphony No. 5 back to back, the 2 recordings, and it's like it's like the difference between someone being marched down a road at gunpoint versus someone sprinting out of sheer joy, and it was incredible to me.
Right, and yeah, that just goes to show the difference in symphonies and conductors.
Right. Yeah, and just like so many different human factors that have nothing to do with the notes on the page that made that music come to life
Right.
in one version and was just sort of inert and there in the other.
Gotcha. Yep, I agree. All right, so my 9 and 10. Probably Weird Al Yankovic, Bad Hair Day.
Okay. Did that come out while you were a teen?
I got it in 7th grade.
Oh, jeez. I feel it all now.
And I love the snot out of every cut of that
me,
thing.
me too. That was a big one in those years. I loved.
Yeah.
Amish Paradise got a lot of play.
And then my number 10 will be Somewhere in Time, Iron Maiden. In 8th grade,
Like some-
in 8th grade, my band director, Mr. Eugene Randolph, who's no longer with us, and he arranged Somewhere in Time for middle school band. Right? Right, have the flutes do it, and then have the brass do it. It was very fun. And I think he gave me a tape of it to listen to, and I listened to it till that tape wore out. And then I later bought a CD of it, and then listened to it until the laser burned through the Not really. I think it got scratched, but you know what I mean. I really loved the snot out of this album. So yeah, Somewhere in Time.
I think that's one of their best tracks, like the title track from Somewhere in Time.
Oh, yeah.
Really solid.
There's a lot of real. That whole album's good though. Like, everything Iron Maiden does is just perfect to me. So
And you've set me up well for my ninth album.
fair enough. And what are your 9 and 10?
My 9 and 10 are actually two local artists, because in my teens I was getting really interested in my local Sacramento scene. So the first one is the Max Swanky Trio, Slingshot, which I think that's really the first time that I realized that you didn't need much to really groove. Because, it's literally drums, guitar, and an upright bass. And, you get the combination of guitar, drums, bass, and pretty much everything. And this one, they didn't need more than that.
Kind of like the Jazz Destroyers.
Yeah, they found some very, very deep pockets.
Sure.
And it was just absolutely astounding to me. I would literally track them down in like record stores and just sit and watch them play for hours. I'm fairly certain that at least one of them thought I was a stalker, but
You might have been.
I might have been, but
Might have been. What? So that's your 9.
that's
What's your
9. 10 would be Death Ray self-titled,
Fair enough.
and the reason it comes at the end of my list would be I discovered it it came out at the end of my teens. It came out when I was 19.
Oh, see, a lot of the music I was listening to at like 18, 19 was far... Like, I tried to put a lot of my early teen stuff in there, but really the big impacts for me were like 17, 18, 19.
See, most of the really big impacts for me were prior to puberty. So
You know what I think it is? It's
it's
because your dad had had a ridiculous music collection.
And so
I did
that
not grow
was
up with
the-
much music
so
around
that didn't impact me during my teens because it had already impacted me.
Yeah.
So
So what we'll do next week what we'll do is we'll do the 10 albums from our childhood.
okay.
Right? So that's how we'll do that.
Okay. So yeah, so Death Ray was a big one, and
Yep.
at the same, it was the first time I'd ever seen a band that the song stuck with me 4 months later
Yep.
after seeing them once.
Yep.
So yeah, that was pretty special for me.
Gotcha. Steven, what's your 9? You said I
So-
set you up with Somewhere in Time.
So 9 is King in Crimson.
Oh, yeah.
Which is Bruce Dickinson's first solo album after he left Iron Maiden. And I got this album delivered to me by accident. Like, I had ordered something and they just purely mixed it up. They sent me the wrong CD. But I opened it up and I really loved the album cover, and the song list was like, these are really metal sounding names. I'm totally going to give this a whirl instead of sending it back. And the first track, it was just like, I freaking love this. This guy has an amazing voice. And it's just all like, it's the cheesy metal where it's all songs about crazy, like, the cliche metal content, right? But man,
Wait, were they
knocked
fighting dragons?
it. Yeah, totally dragon
Okay.
fighting. Yeah, exactly.
You know who the best dragon fighters in the history of music are, though? Toto. Go listen to the deep cuts of Toto. They fight dragons. So keep going.
Right. And I had not actually heard any Iron Maiden at the time.
Yeah.
I was aware of them on a vague level. I think I'd
By name.
maybe heard Cut a Run to the Hills without really knowing who it was. But after listening to that album from Brucey, I was like, I need to hear everything else he's done, and I went backwards into Maiden, and I love a lot of their stuff. But there's something really magical about some of those tracks on King and Crimson. I think you really knocked it out. No, wait, I'm sorry. That's the name of the first track. The album is called The Chemical Wedding.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the album is The Chemical Wedding. The first track on it is King and Crimson. That was the first song I heard, so that's what stuck with me. But the album is The Chemical Wedding.
Now, remind me, Bruce Dickinson, I think he was out of Maiden by the time that they did Somewhere in Time. It's probably why I don't have as much affinity. Like, I love everything Maiden does, but I have no special affinity for Bruce Dickinson. They have a rolling cast of people that come through.
could have sworn Dickinson was on that, but that could also be
It might have
because
been
I
when he
have a
came back.
greatest hits album where he re-recorded some of their stuff from the previous guy. So maybe that's it.
That could be it. I don't know. Leave it. Correct me in the comments. So then you're number 10?
So I have to cheat a little bit because since I'm just coming up with these off the top of my head, I've kind of run out of albums I can remember from my actual teenage years. And this one comes a little bit later, but it's Blind Guardians, A Night at the Opera. And the reason I think it counts is because this album is the apex of all of the musical tastes I developed during my teenage years. Like,
Fair enough.
Okay.
once I had gone down the orchestral track and the heavy metal track and the classic rock track, for me, all of those things lead to this sort of sublime apotheosis in the form of A Night at the Opera, which is just, it's a Blind Guardian's a German heavy metal band who look very much like the 80s never ended. But they have these incredible voices. Like, the guy is a classically trained, and they sound like a church choir.
Ah.
But it's hard. But it's pretty serious metal, and it has a lot of orchestral backing, and it's just fantastic to me.
That's awesome. So that's our top. That's our 10 albums from our teens.
Yep.
Ready for the lap? Here we go. Lap. All right. Number 4 is our announcements, our goals, and it used to be a giveaway. I really need to figure out how to talk to my partner manager. So if YouTube's watching this one, please help me get in touch with my partner manager. I don't understand how to deal with the terms of service with YouTube in this regard. We were doing a giveaway, right? And I was saying, stickers, right, or download cards. I think you can see the stickers in Steven's camera over there over his shoulder. We got stickers.
Yeah, we got a lot
So
of stickers.
we got a lot of stickers. So I've been doing giveaways with the stickers, right? And these videos keep getting demonetized. It's very frustrating. But I just had one reviewed, and they put it up. So are they objecting to the giveaway, or is it the fact that it's announcements? Because I tried it both ways, and they both got demonetized. So if somebody from YouTube can let me know, I would love to know exactly what I can and cannot do. Otherwise, I will just have to turn off monetization on this particular video. And if we do that, somebody's gonna have to buy a record to make up the difference, I guess. Like, just buy one, right? Buy one when.
Are they demonetizing all of them, or are they just?
No, it's just the announcements video each week. The announcements
Are they?
clip.
It's consistently getting demonetized?
Yeah, it's the last 3 weeks they've been consistently demonetized. So.
Okay.
So we'll figure that out. But this is our announcements, our goals, and the giveaways. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to read this through the glasses, but let's try this. The Volca album, that's going to be on hold for a little while. We're going to have to move that down because we got some bigger stuff coming on.
Yep.
We got Best of Freeform Fridays 2016. We're about to start production. I know last week I said we were about to start production, but now we are really about to start production.
We
I have
have
the paper.
all the materials.
I have the paper, I have the printer, I have the duplicator, and I have a paper cutter. Yeah, we're gonna start doing test printings as soon as now we just gotta clean the garage and then get that going.
Yes.
So and we got.
So guess what we're doing tomorrow?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So we're doing that. We'll be releasing physical CDs of Best of Freeform Fridays 2016. And they'll come to iTunes and everything else as well, and there'll be download cards. MC Overlord, I'm going to see if I can move him back to the summer. Jesse Thunderwake, we're going to have to push that back farther in the year, too. It's a secret to nobody's already out. I should just spend the $50, and so I can do the download cards and the download cards and the UPC code and things.
Mm-hmm. 2006 and beyond.
2006 and beyond. There's one of us, right?
Someone.
I think it's over there, but
somewhere over one of
there'll
our
be a
heads
card.
somewhere.
I put 2006 and beyond out on a playlist. You can listen to it. It's free.
Mm-hmm.
But I've just put it on a playlist. I really want it listened to as an entire album.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really love putting them out as individual videos, though.
Yeah.
Maybe later on, maybe the week I need to take a break, that's what I'll do. The week I need to take a break, I'll release that as daily. Because I'll just schedule them, track 1 comes out Monday, track 2 comes out Tuesday, that kind of thing. I'll do that on a week I need a break. But that's already there. There'll be a card for the playlist. You can listen to it. I'll make CDs of that, but probably a very limited number, right? I don't anticipate anybody really wants to go buy a 10-year-old electronic album that nobody ever listened to. Or maybe everybody wants to listen to that. Yeah, that's what I sounded like 10 years ago.
I was going to say, we do now have the ability to make one-offs if people decide they want them.
Right, that's the whole thing about how we do our manufacturing is we do them as a one-off. So I'll do some limited runs. I'll do like some batch production of some fancy stuff, but CD in a tray in a plastic jewel case with a 2-panel card that's got liner notes on the back and the cover on the front, right? Just your standard everyday CD. They're $10, and I do them one at a time. So yeah, that's what's coming really, really quickly. That it's a secret to nobody's coming to that. The Jazz Destroyers Live is coming to that as well. You can also get that one on Bandcamp, iTunes, everything. We have download cards. See, that's what the download card looks like.
Yep.
The download cards, if you see me in person, are $5. And
Or if you see me. Nobody seems to see me. It's okay.
right, and
I
so
thought that was part of your strategy, though.
Apparently, I am just not recognizable in public.
I would consider that an asset, personally.
yeah, it's more of an asset.
It means I can still go grocery shopping. It's all right.
Yeah. So I guess I have dates. I should announce the dates so that you can come to the shows and get the $5 download card, right?
Yes.
So January 21st, I will be at Mozart's Coffee Roasters on Lake Austin Boulevard from 8 to 11. That'll be a fun show. I don't think I have anything. No gigs. That's the only one in February. Now let me go to
No, that was January.
January. In February, I will be doing. Oh Lord, I'm doing
17th.
the 17th. I will be at Cafe Creme in South Austin. We're going to record a Freeform Fridays live. You're not sure if you're in town or not.
Correct.
We'll figure that out. But yeah, we're going to do Freeform Fridays live on the 17th. On the 18th of February, we will be playing Mozart's Coffee Roasters again.
And also on the 24th of February.
And the 24th. So 18th, 24th will be Mozart's as well. And we'll have Paul Serrato with us on the 17th and the 18th.
Yes.
Which will be great. I'm going to put a card here. You can go watch this very interesting documentary where Paul has this tremendous collection of vintage jazz posters. You know, Charles Mingus at the Village Vanguard, that kind of thing. Because he was part of that scene. He was there. He was the guy who had to handle Mingus's bass, hand it to him. Like, you know, that was his... It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to document as much as we can while we hang out with Paul, and we're going to share it with everybody. Yeah, but the other things... So those are the gigs into February. I'm going to be in Round Top, I think March 11.
Something like that, yeah.
But that's a little far out. But the other thing we have going is a week from tomorrow, we're going to record Sounds in Between. Sounds in Between, that session's going to be a week from tomorrow. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then we're not sure if we're doing this Thursday, the 19th, at the Highball. But I'll be at the Highball on January 19, so you can come visit me. But I think we may be recording down there. Are you around? Can you do that one?
Wait, are you playing
Let's
on
figure
it?
that out.
No, I'm not playing. Yeah, we'll figure that out offline. Jomo and the Possum Posse's playing
Oh,
there.
that's right.
Joe Mo and the Possum Posse.
Yes, so
Good name.
it's a really good name. It's you ever see a guy on a buffalo? It's the guy on a buffalo.
Maybe I have.
It's a viral video. He made it. It's a guy on a buffalo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
he's the best. But we're not sure if we want to do the 19th or the next one, but they're on board.
Okay.
So that's going to be a lot of fun. Sounds in Between's then the next thing, and then the 28th where is it? February 25th. I really don't like this calendar on this phone. I like it on the desktop app way better. Yeah, the 25th of February, we're going to record Willie O'Terry and Dave.
Dave.
We're going to record Willie and Dave. And
Also known as WD-41.
WD-41. Which you remember because we did the Freeform Fridays at Kenny Dorm's backyard.
Yeah.
Those were the guys that opened for us.
Okay, cool.
I didn't. I've got it unlisted on this channel, or maybe it's the Jazz Destroyer. I've got it unlisted. I edited that whole set, but I really would need to get permission from those guys to make it public, or to even share it. Like I've only shared it with them, so that they could review it for their usage. And now we're gonna do one for realsies in the house, basically. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
My living room is never getting put back
It's
together.
never getting put back together. I'm sorry.
But we're gonna have to rearrange furniture at this point.
Yeah,
Put it all against walls. It's never gonna be back together.
something we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It'll come once we get the garage done. It'll come and go easier. If
Okay.
I can stash stuff out in the garage, it'll be all right.
Okay.
It's just getting everything up and down the stairs. Oh my god. And I have
Yeah,
nowhere
I
to
know.
keep it.
It's called cardio.
Yeah, I know. All right. So those are coming up. Millicent Hughes is going to be recording in, I think, May. Escape from Ignorance, we're waiting on you. I've announced it every week. What's going on?
Well, to be honest, we had an election that we're not going to talk about, but
Now let's give you a little bit of
time.
time. So the election
It has
is
just been very demoralizing because, let's
Yes.
face it, ignorance won. And so the process of escaping from it has now become much more difficult, and that requires a rethink to the approach. And that's still in progress.
Okay.
that makes sense. Yeah. So you want me to take you off the board? We'll stop talking about it until you're ready.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that'd be
Okay.
best.
We'll take it off the board. Though we should just put up what we got on the Bandcamp.
No, that's true.
Document it, you know? All right, and then Millicent we talked about, and then finally Your Name Here. Right?
You still have bandwidth?
I still have some bandwidth, especially for later in the year.
Okay.
It's like all of my current stuff is going to pile on me very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to be basically editing video for months and months and months. And Freeform Fridays is edited,
Mm-hmm.
at least the first 4. We shot 12, and then we did a 13th video. So I'm like 1/3 of the way through. It's been 2 weeks. Let's see if I can get. I want to see if I can get it done by this time next week.
Okay.
But it's just gonna depend. But the editing of those is very high priority. It's very hard to do. This big tape machine behind you here, this 688, like all tape machines. This is a wonderful machine, by the way. It sounds amazing. It's just really clean, and it's got its character. There's moments, but it's really quite a good machine. But it doesn't play back like all tape. There's this thing called WOW, where the speed they can't regulate the speed of the motor consistently, right? So when it runs at, I think it's 3.5 IPS, it can't maintain a consistent 3.5 IPS. It can dip by like 0.1%.
Yeah.
And it'll drift up and down, a little faster, a little slower, a little faster, a little slower. And so when I go to sync the video, because the video is all digital, and it's not drifting at the same speed, I'll sync it up in the beginning, and then by the end of the video, I'll be a half a second off. Thank God for Final Cut. I can just speed it up and drop it right where it needs to go. But yeah, that's what's going on with us.
You're just making my case against analog for me.
Nothing sounds like it. You got to listen to
It's
it.
true, nothing sounds like it, but there may be a reason for that.
It's the best. It's the best. I love doing analog. Plus,
And you will have plenty of time next week to edit video because school starts for me again. So you'll have uninterrupted hours.
I'll have uninterrupted hours, and I won't have any help with anything.
don't need any help with anything while you're editing video. The only thing you need my help with is bringing you food.
Yeah, that's true.
And that is the point at which I remind you that I am neither your maid nor your mother.
I know. All right.
Okay.
All right, what's next? Get a lap timer ready.
Yeah, ready.
All right. Shout outs. So this is our 3 shout outs. We do these every week, right?
Mhm.
I'm gonna go last. Steven, you do your 3 shout outs?
So a bit random. I've just finished binge listening to all of the Harry Potter audiobooks. I've read the series a few times. Hadn't listened to them before. The guy who performs these books is so good. He is so good. His name is Jim Dale. He's an older British actor. He does voices for all of the main characters and just effortlessly switches between them. It's a joy to listen to. I think this may actually be the best way to experience the series. Love the books. The movies try really hard, but just do not succeed. And these audiobooks are fantastic. If anyone has not experienced Harry Potter after all this time, or if you've had an allergic reaction to it based on how popular it is, it's one of the great works of modern pop literature. There's no way around it. It's brilliant, it's enthralling, it's full of wonderful themes that children should be forced to think about, and everyone who enjoys good stories should love it. There's no excuse. So go check it out.
Gotcha.
Okay.
What's your second one?
I've just started watching a new show on the Sci-Fi Channel, or the Sci-Fi Channel,
Siffy.
called The Expanse. And Sci-Fi, or Sci-Fi, has unfortunately cultivated a reputation in the past few years for appallingly cheap, awful content.
Yeah, but Sharknado is so fun.
No comment. And
Aren't they on like number 4 now
they
or something?
are.
Oh, are they driving that one into the ground? Ah, don't drive that one into the ground. The first one was perfect.
The idea that something that started out already buried can be driven into the ground is comical for a reason. But this show, The Expanse, is real science fiction. It's like once a decade, Sci-Fi can crank out a real show. They gave us Battlestar Galactica, and now they finally followed in their footsteps. The Expanse, I'm not going to get into the details, but if you love real science fiction with real characters and a reverence for actual physics, this is the show you need to be watching. It's the closest we're going to get to Game of Thrones in space, and it's excellent.
All right, I'll check it out. Brian put it on his Plex server.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's totally there. Let's see, number three was one of my favorite bands, Epica, that I went to their wonderful concert here recently. Their new album is now available, called The Holographic Principle.
Okay.
And if you like opera and metal, and like these two things to be combined, then Epica is the band for you.
Makes sense.
And those are my shout-outs.
Gotcha. What are your 3?
My 3. First one's going to Meryl Streep.
Hell yeah.
Because,
Hell yeah.
really, I mean...
Listen, this whole you're an entertainer, shut up thing is just...
Well, the strategy is when someone makes a factually accurate observation, then the authority has no choice but to label them
Bad.
as somehow unable to make true statements. They have to say, oh, you shouldn't have the right to do that because you're a celebrity. If what she said wasn't true, they would not be attacking her.
Right, they would just go, she lied.
Yeah, and we're talking about a woman who has made her career on observing people and their mannerisms and their behaviors. And yeah, I think if anybody's qualified to talk about it, it's her.
Well, I don't think you have to be qualified to talk about it. I don't care if you
Nobody
think
has
she's...
to be qualified, but I'm just saying, you know, we're not she's not Alex Jones.
Hey, Alex Jones has a sweet synth rig.
But it's just more like if you're talking about who said something as opposed to the merits of what they said,
Right.
then clearly you're trying
Hi,
to
Studio Cat.
dissuade things.
Yes.
Hello.
Are you coming?
All right, so what's your second?
Second would be Brooklyn Pie Company
Yeah, Brooklyn Pie Company.
for making a pizza that you and I can both agree on.
Yeah. And then I hate myself after I eat it.
Well, that's why I only got the one.
Yep, that's true. Hi, Studio Cat. Hello. What? What?
And then shout out number 3 is going to Congressman John Lewis.
Yeah, okay.
So John Lewis, for those of you who aren't familiar, he is the last surviving speaker from Dr. Martin Luther King's 1963 March on Washington.
Ah.
And he is currently the House representative representing like 75% of Atlanta or something. So
Really just one of our great public speakers and
Yes.
activists on civil rights that has ever lived and will ever live. And
yes, and you know, he's also in a Twitter war with Trump.
the world is now in a collective Twitter war.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and the only ones happy about it are Twitter.
Yeah, and Twitter is actually taking Trump to task over it, and good for you, Twitter.
All right.
All right, that's my 3.
That's your 3. My 3. The first one is Graham Maxwell? Maxwell.
Yes.
Sorry, it's in a shadow and I'm wearing shades. Graham Maxwell, we're both members of this Synth Memes group. I love my Synth Memes group.
Yes.
What's up, guys? I share stuff that I make on that group, and sometimes somebody's like, nobody cares about your band. I'm like, okay. But I mean, the reason I share it is because it's like, yeah, if somebody thinks it's cool and wants to sample it, like, my rule is no hate speech. Right? No hate speech, and if you're gonna sell it, split it with me. Just split it with me. Split it with me and all of the guys that were on the record, right? So just split it with all the musicians if you use a sample. And because that's the deal we do internally. We just all split everything. So yeah, but ultimately, like, if you make no money with it, that's fine. Just no hate speech. That's all I ask. Seems reasonable.
Okay, so why is Graham on your list?
So Graham put out something and felt like he was receiving crickets. You put out music and it gets 14 views and you just want to, like, put a bullet in your skull. It's really hard. It's really, really hard. I'm fortunate in that this channel is growing. The Jazz Destroyers are growing. This channel overtook the Jazz Destroyers for the first time in the last week.
But look at how much work you put into it. Like, the growth is not something that just happened. The growth is the product of continual pressure and persistence and perseverance.
An output.
And the tough part, though, is, like, I've been doing the Jazz Destroyers for a year longer. This came along and just went right the other way, right over the top. I wish everybody on this channel would give a crap about my music. But that's okay,
So
right?
you hear
Everybody's
that,
got
people?
taste.
Go like the Jazz Destroyers.
And go check out Graham Maxwell on SoundCloud. I really liked what he was doing. He was feeling no love. The second, so he deserves to feel some love. The second is Jared James, who was supposed to be a guest today, but he's a little under the weather.
Okay.
He's a big supporter. He shares our stuff, and it's just the best. That's, of all the things, you hit the like and leave a comment. That really helps us a lot. But it's when you share it with a friend as well. You show other people. When you like and share, all you're doing is you're convincing the algorithm to show more people in search results, which is a way of doing it, but also hitting the share button and saying, hey, check out what Don's doing. It helps a tremendous amount. And really, the reason I do the label is to build an audience for the projects on the label. So it makes logical sense that the label has more subscribers than the band. It just bothers me. But Jared James, and so we're hoping he's feeling better. It's real rainy and... And then my final is always to the Get Off My Lawn Records family, the whole family. We have a Facebook group you can join. I try to not overpost. you know, with these Facebook groups now. Are you on any Facebook groups?
What do you mean?
Well, like the one I can think of is like Maynard People or the our HOA one.
Yeah.
So when I join groups, I leave the notifications on. You have to manually go turn off notifications for a group.
Mhm.
Because I like, you know, if I'm going to be part of a group, I'm going to be part of a group. The problem is that some people, they'll put me in a group that I don't want to be a part of, and then they post like 150 times a day in there, and you're like, bro, you're blowing my phone up. I keep getting notifications every time it's, you know, this guy posted in his... Because we all self-promote. I have a lot of entrepreneurial friends on Facebook, so we all self-promote. And I try to not be too spammy about it. But at the same time, I'm totally shameless. Everybody knows. I'm pretty sure I pestered everybody who's watching this at some point
Yes.
about what I'm doing. I can't help but talk about it.
Or you harassed me to pester them.
Yes.
One of the two.
So those are our shout-outs. All right, ready for lap time? All right,
Okay.
what's next? I met Farrah Abraham.
Yes, you did.
I met Farrah Abraham. And,
I should state that I have no idea who that is.
yeah, that's the funny part. I really didn't either. Did you know?
I knew she was from Teen Mom. That was all I knew.
Right. I had never seen I still have never seen an episode of Teen Mom.
Yeah,
Well, the name alone is one of those shows I go out of my way to avoid all contact with.
I mean, yeah, I don't really, you know, it's not for me. It wasn't made for me, right?
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. But so Farrah Abraham is on Teen Mom, and
which I don't quite understand because she's not a teen anymore, is she?
I think there's Teen Mom 2, and that's kind of following her around like in kind of a post,
Okay.
like what's life been like for you since Teen Mom kind of thing. I don't really know. I don't, because it's
Isn't
not.
the answer to that, I have a 7-year-old?
She does. She has a 7-year-old now. I didn't meet the kid. I met her parents. Because she's got this furniture store out on the west side of town, and it's a cool little place. It's a funky little place. It's a place where it's all very. I'm not sure you'd want to decorate your whole house with it, but it is the place to go find bold accent pieces,
Okay.
especially. There's one piece in there I really wish I could afford. So if everybody goes and buys like 400 records tomorrow, maybe I could do it. But it's a replica bronze casting of a Tyrannosaurus Rex head on a pedestal. It's about that big, and it's in bronze.
I would totally want that too, I understand.
Right? And so the store's really, I like the store a lot, and I don't know, right? So I'd never been out there. It was like an hour. It was like an hour drive for me. So I don't go out that way very much. But she has a frozen yogurt shop out there and another like children's furniture store. But she was having a party at the store, and her employee Casey is starting to sing with us, right? So Casey asked me if I could do it. So I was like, yes, of course. I'm being paid to play is my thing, right? I'm happy to play as long as it pays something. As long as I'm not doing it, as long as I'm not paying to do it, I'm cool. If it doesn't need to be the best money, it just needs to cover my travel expenses, at least until I'm too in demand to. Anyway, so I was hired to come out and play this party, and so we show up and we play, and she had told me she worked for somebody who was on Teen Mom and then started a furniture store.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess Farrah Abraham had done an adult video at one point. She got paid good money from Vivid or somebody to go do this. So she really like cashed in on the fame, which is good. Like fame is one of those things that's so fleeting. She kind of did it right. Strike while the iron's hot, and then go try to build like a viable long-term business, like a furniture store. Just wicked smart to me, right? So we're at the party and we're playing and I met her and she was really nice, but she takes out her phone and she's kind of videotaping us on her phone and then posts it to Instagram and tags us. Within 6 hours, the video had 30,000 views.
Jeez.
Isn't that amazing?
That is insane.
Had 30,000 views and she tagged us, which that's really, hey, tag us.
That's 5,000 people an hour.
Right. And I start reading the comments.
That's your first mistake.
I guess that is my first mistake.
You read the comments on the internet?
Not only did I read the comments, I engaged a couple. That was mistake number 2.
Wow.
It was like 5 comments, and then I was like, all right, I'm done.
Do we
I'm
need
done.
to move?
No, we don't need to move. Well, because people were saying things that were just like factually untrue, and I'm just like, no, people weren't just walking in off the street. This was a private event, right? They're going, oh my God, you don't even know the band, because in the video they said, oh, what's the band's name? Oh, it's the Jazz Destroyers. That's in the video, right? Oh, you don't even know the band's name. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure that was her friend asking, and she was telling her friend how dare you try to correct the record in any way, in any sort of respectful way on the internet. I got my head bitten off a few times, and I was like, I'm going to step back and watch. And a few people followed us, but I could tell that, like, for some reason, I think she's kind of cast as the villain in this show. Because there's this really awful vitriolic hatred for her. Like, they get threatening calls at the store from time to time, kind of. It's really awful. But she's super nice, right? And seems nice to me. If you follow somebody
You're looking for some rational connection, and no such rational connection exists.
because the evidence doesn't support it, because I don't watch the show.
Of people whose sole mission in life is just to spew hatred on anyone who has more than they have, and unfortunately, women get it far, far worse than guys. There's trolls will pop out of the world just to hate on a woman for being impertinent enough for anyone to know her name.
Yes.
And like I've known a lot of female friends who have some degree of fame in various industries, and they all deal with this, whether they're cast as the villain or not. It's just that people, the only way for them to feel good about themselves is to try to tear someone else down.
Yeah.
Which is why you can't engage with them. It's why you have to ignore those comments, because they're either too young to understand what they're doing. They're either some like 13-year-old kid being an idiot online, in which case nothing you say is going to snap them out of it, or they're a paid troll, or they're the kind of person who is just lost to you.
What's a paid troll?
What's a paid troll?
Yeah.
He asks. So, a paid troll is someone who is literally paid to go online and leave hateful comments or trolling comments.
And stir up controversy.
And there's many sources that will pay people like this. Sometimes it's, less than, journalistically sound news outlets that are just trying to make hay. And sometimes it's, the dark side of cultural activism. It's the alt-right insanity that we're all dealing with. It's where, organizations who are like, here's a list of people that we think are part of the global Jewish alien conspiracy.
And then people go out and harass them.
And often it's just random names they pull out of a hat. And people go out and harass them.
It's awful.
There's tons of stories about, Russia engaging in activities like this during the election, where they would just hire a warehouse full of hacker types whose sole job was to maintain 7 or 8 fake social media accounts and spend all day long leaving hateful comments and posting hateful pictures on the accounts of people that have been targeted by their superiors. Mm-hmm. And it's an incredibly easy, duplicitous way to sow misinformation and distrust, and there's virtually no mechanisms for stopping it, because the same methods that they use to spread their horror are the methods that the good people use to spread their joy and their content.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, so it's really hard to stop that sort of behavior.
Yep.
Yeah, and before you even start thinking, oh, this is a bunch of, frustrated men that can't get laid, you know,
No, these weren't
no,
men.
these you get quite a few women that just hate on other women.
Yeah, these weren't men. This is Instagram, so I can see. I'm like looking at these people. I'm like, who the hell are you? That you would leave such a terrible comment on somebody you don't even know. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Just
some people think they'll get famous by hating on a famous person, and you know, some people just cannot stand to see other people successful.
it's true, and I want to point out if you follow anybody around with a camera for 24 hours, and you're gonna cut it down to 3-4 minutes,
Yep.
you can make anyone look like an ass.
And that is why I've pushed back so hard against attempts to cast people or entire organizations as evil and duplicitous in the public sphere, because I'm so aware of how easy it is to take an innocent action that was made with pure intent and make it look like a horribly mendacious and or malintended act.
Mm-hmm.
And when most of the time it's either meant to be neutral or it's incompetence or it's bad luck,
Yeah.
but it gets turned into villainy. How many clickbait headlines do you see where X person destroys or obliterates or tears apart or humiliates other X person? And it's just someone ranting about something online. And I'll find you a dozen that I agree with, and I'm like, more power to them, and then I'll find a dozen more that just make my blood boil.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's no easy solution, because the same mechanisms that do good do evil. You can't stop the evildoers without hurting the do-gooders.
Yep.
And the evil is so pervasive throughout our society that there's no good way to eliminate it
Yeah.
or neutralize it even.
But I do think there's hope, if only because it's such a new concept.
Sure.
Like, everything we're talking about is 10 years old, right?
Yeah.
And even though cultural evolution happens way faster than biological evolution, that's still not enough time for culture to adapt. If once we've had comment sections for 50 years, I think maybe at some point we'll develop some institutional regulations and or just norms that help. But we're only just now recognizing the problem.
Yeah.
Once I hear like regulations on comment sections, I'm like, holy 1984 Batman. I don't know how we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Well, just think that, like, a certain political party in this country has tried very, very hard to turn the word regulation into a bad word. And it's a 100% propaganda campaign, right?
Yeah.
Is the perfect example of regulation that does exactly what it's supposed to do without limiting anyone's freedom is traffic lights and or signs. Every single aspect of road control is a regulation
Yep.
that succeeds at keeping people safe without restricting our freedom.
Hey, listen, man. Listen, man. I just want to go mudding.
Exactly.
I just want to go mudding, man.
And there are
Just
places to go mudding.
Don't. Why do I got to drive on the road, man? I got a 4x4. I got dualies in the back. I got stacks coming out. I got the big old dumps. We're gonna go roll some coal. No, I get what you mean, but yes.
Because I just feel like obviously,
But we're at the 2-hour
you
mark.
can become 1984 if you try hard.
Yeah.
And there has to be constant vigilance. And there has to be a push-pull between the people who don't want any regulation and the people who want too much.
Right. That's exactly it. So, what's next? Let's lap it. Everybody gets a trophy. Aye, Studio Cat. We'll give you a trophy too. Okay. So, everybody gets a trophy. This is my favorite section. I want to give Steven the Brevity Award this week.
All right.
No, you're doing great, man. We'll get you back on track with the Escape from Ignorance, but we'll take you off the board so that I don't have to go, well, I don't know what's going on. We know what's going on. You're taking a break from it. That's all right. On the break. Work on the book. Finish the book.
Making great progress on that.
Good. That's my whole thing, is just finish.
Well, I'm going to give you the Master of Dark Energy Award.
Master of Dark Energy. Isn't this great? I thought the I think that Carissa Explains It All is kind of a fun.
No, that was rocket because we need more of this.
Yeah, more of this, right?
Yeah.
We'll do relativity.
Yes.
We did dark matter, dark energy. We'll do relativity, and then we'll go from there.
And you want relativity for next week?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the thing about science is that it's never simple, it's never comforting, and there's always caveats.
Yes.
And the world needs more of that very
Yes.
badly.
Absolutely.
And for you, I would actually like to give you the Restraint Award.
The Restraint Award.
Yes, because you managed to restrain yourself from mansplaining during section 2.
I'm working on it. Yeah, you're not able to not mansplain. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do mansplain. I try not to, but I'm so used to knowing lots of things and being around people that don't know lots of things that it's not that I mansplain to you, it's I mansplain to everybody.
And now you're mansplaining while you're mansplaining.
Yes. Absolutely.
See, mine is just pure gender neutral condescension.
There we go. I don't mansplain.
There's no bias. I just assume I know more than you, whoever you are, and go from there.
Makes sense. So I want to give the final award, the trophy of the, what we're going to call it this week.
The Patience Award.
Patience Award, the Attention Span Award. You guys are awesome. If you made it all the way to here, you're the best. You're the best. So, yeah, absolutely. So let's give me one of those download cards right there. Let's do this. I'm gonna do something fun. I'm tucking this one in for everybody.
There's this one.
Is this the one where it was thank you for blank?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one I meant to give to a charity auction. Okay. I just didn't get it over to him in time. Plus, it's kind of cheesy. We'll do the charity auction stuff when we do CDs.
Okay.
We'll set aside one of each of the limited editions for donation to that sort of thing.
Okay.
Okay, so what you'll do on your computer is you're going to go to cdbaby.com/redeem. Okay? And then the download code is going to be Lima 5 Whiskey Alpha Tango Umbrella dash Echo Charlie Victor Hotel Mike Sierra. Okay? Type that in, and
The first one who types it in.
the first one who types it in gets a free copy of the album.
Okay, so we should probably mark that then.
Yeah, give me that. We'll just put that over here.
Okay.
So, type it in. So that's the award. If you've made it this far, and knowing the size of our audience, I'm willing to bet you got a pretty good chance of winning it. So,
Yeah.
punch it in. All right, so that's the show. So on that note,